Jazz from Yorkshire Peaches Therapies, and welcome back to another episode of Hop, Skip and a Jump. Today I'm joined by the amazing Kate from Good as Golden Dog Training. So Kate initially started in this industry as a veterinary nurse, but has gone on to create a huge online academy for breed-specific training for golden retrievers. Now, me and Kate have worked together for quite a few years now, whether that be her referring for online gait analysis or me presenting guest lectures to her academy audience. In this episode, we talk about why breed-specific training is a thing and also the health implications that go with the golden retriever breed. So let's cut to it and jump into that conversation.
Okay, we met, how many years ago did we meet now?
Oh, Jesus, I know.
idea.
A long time.
3 years ago?
It's got to be longer than that. It's got
Is
to
it
be
longer than that?
Well, it certainly feels like it.
Yeah.
Certainly feels like it.
So when we first met, we met through kind of a passion for ethical dog training, but also the influence of pain and behaviour. Now, I do work with a lot of ethical force-free trainers, but you are the only trainer I work with who does breed-specific dog training. Tell me more about that. Where did that idea come from?
A lot of people ask me this, and I'm not even going to dress it up, right? Shall I tell you God's honest truth?
Absolutely.
I work with golden retrievers because I am utterly obsessed with them, because I live and breathe them, because I am a massive golden geek. I've spent all of my waking hours learning not only about their behavior, the genetics that influence those behavior, but also their medical idiosyncrasies, all of the quirks of potential gait abnormalities. This is all stuff that I am super interested in. Their sensitivities, their dietary sensitivities, the likelihood of suffering with specific health conditions. All of this stuff is like my special interest. And it just made sense for me. The more I learned about specifically one breed, the more my eyes were open to how, wow, we really have got this wrong. Like, why are we applying the same approach with every single breed of dog when they're all completely different? Like one of the big problems that people face with golden retrievers is they good guardians, they take them to a group training class. Golden retrievers are very hyper-social dogs, so they really struggle very much in a group training environment. So they can find it really hard to focus, and that can mean that the guardians have a really hard time getting the dog to listen, which can make them feel overwhelmed, stressed, and like they are the odd one out, right? Get all these guys together in a room and get them talking about this, and they're like, oh, that happened to you? That happened to you? That happened to me as well. And I'm like, I wonder why. But we have, we're comparing these guys with like suspicious German Shepherds who are bred for a very different whole niche. They're bred to excel at different things. They're suspicious of strangers. They are handler focused. Are you going to have an easier time? You tell me. Experience says to me, yes, you will in a group environment. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on, but ultimately the short answer is I'm just obsessed with them.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I think as well, with golden retrievers, it wasn't really until I met you. I mean, we all kind of make presumptions, don't we, about certain breeds? Like poodles are highly strung, and like you say, the German Shepherds are nervy, and the golden retriever, they're the easy dog. And actually, it was when I met you, I was like, oh, they're not like these placid, easygoing kind of dogs. They're just as complex as every other dog. What do you think contributes to this this ideology of golden retrievers being the easy family dog that they just perfectly slot in? You have a baby and then you just get a golden retriever puppy, and of course everything's going to go swimmingly. What do you think contributes to that idea?
I think it's just societal expectation, and it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like people will say these things and maybe they'll remember their 15-year-old toddery old golden retriever that their neighbor once had, once upon a time. And they sort of think that they're going to bring this puppy in that's going to grow into this adolescent that's going to be like the doddery old 15-year-old golden that they remember from years gone by.
Yeah.
guys, these guys are they're dogs. You
Yeah.
know, they're going to have a puppyhood that's going to be potentially quite rough. They're going to struggle with the same kind of behaviors that other puppies do. They're
Mhm.
also an orally fixated breed. They're a retriever. What were they bred for? What was their originally bred purpose? Right?
Carrying. Yeah.
Carrying.
Mhm.
What does that mean that they find innate reinforcement from? Using their mouth. So
Mhm.
puppy biting can be really rough with golden retrievers. It can be really persistent. So
Mhm.
the puppy stage is rough, but the adolescent stage, my goodness, it's not all plain sailing.
Mhm.
And it seems to be a big shock for people when they expect what society tells them is a golden retriever. And I'm not suggesting that all Goldens are hellions. Absolutely
No.
not. But they are still just dogs. And I think it's a cross for them to bear this expectation that people have that they are the perfect family dog. I call it the golden guide dog dream because we have
Ah.
an idea. We've got the guide dogs, aren't they? You know, they're used for this particular job in society. Therefore, they must be, and they are incredibly intelligent, you know, incredibly easy to train. Define easy to train, you know, for a start. Guide dogs go through 2 years of professional training and still, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it's 40% now of them wash. So they don't pass and they don't become a guide dog. That
Wow.
statistic has changed. It used to be higher.
Yeah.
But this is what we're comparing our Goldens to. Has Joe Bloggs's dog down the street had 2 years of professional training? No, they've probably booked a 6-week class that's told them that that will be all they ever need. And then they leave with this teenage, like, mutant ninja turtle got on a leash. And they're like, what on earth are you? This is not what I was promised.
I did not sign up for
This
this.
is not what I signed up for. Like the golden Tasmanian devil, but they're just a teenager and their
Yeah.
brains are going through massive, rapid stages of development and change. And it's hard for them. Your dog's not giving you a hard time, they're having
No.
a hard time. And I think if we can just put the pieces back together and allow people to understand why their dog is struggling, why the behaviors are so big and unexpected, and what exactly we need to do to get the lid back on those big behaviors. And it's not drilling training, it's connection.
Yeah, I think that was one of the it was on one of your social media posts. You said like we need to kind of stop this the obedience drills. So say for example, Joe Blogs has been doing those obedience drills. So first of all, what would you class as an obedience drill? I would class it as like heel work.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of heel work and look at me, don't look at your surroundings, look at me, make eye contact. I'm like, oh god. But that's, you know, I'm always very honest with people who come see me in clinic and people I work with. I started my journey in balance training and I am very much on the other side of the fence right now. And I remember there was that big focus on your dog looking at you, whereas now when I'm out on a walk, I want them to enjoy themselves. I want them to look at what they're doing. If they, you know, a little check-in, perfect, absolute chef's kiss, lovely jubbly. But I want them to be interacting with their environment.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say we're missing a trick if we're not allowing them to interact with their environment, because it's naturally going to help to lower the respiration rate, lower the heart rate, lower their arousal levels, and help them to feel calmer.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we want that?
I think as well with the building the connection thing, you do a lot of work with like pattern games and things like everything's based on like, well, not everything, but a lot of the work that you do is based on games. What would you say is one of the most kind of common things that you come across in the academy that can actually be not treated, that's not the right word, can be worked with through some of these pattern games that you use?
Hyperfixation on triggers in their environment. So one of the most important things and one of the biggest mistakes actually that people make when they raise a golden retriever puppy is they mistake what socialization is. So what I see a lot of is people who come to me with an adolescent dog tend to have struggles with the dog struggling with triggers. So they might bark, they might lunge, they might become really het up at the sight of, it could be another dog, it could be other people, it could be children. It's something in their environment, right? So these guardians, typically what they've done is they've done what they were told to do by everybody. You know, Dave down the park, who's had dogs for 15 years. You've got to socialise your puppy. You've got to get your puppy out. You've got to socialise your puppy. Don't forget to socialise your puppy. Make sure you socialise your puppy. Have you met 15 people with hats and scarves and a ladder?
It's true.
A clown with a big hat. Yeah, and what happens is that these little golden retriever hypersocial puppies are taken to meet everyone, every dog, every person, every baby, everyone. Well, these dogs are having a great time. A lot of them, not all, a lot of them are having a great time. They're like, oh, hi friend, hi friend, hi friend, hi friend. And then what happens is these little tiny golden nuggets grow up to be not so tiny golden nuggets. And now we've got a 32, 35 kilo teenage dog who looks like an adult, but is very much still not an adult. Social maturity is a long way off. And we've built an expectation in this tiny little golden nugget that they are going to go and say hi to all of these friends. And they're going to go and say hi to all of these on-leash dogs. And now all of a sudden, nobody wants your dog to come over because they are big, they are bounding, they are pulling, they're lunging, they're barking. They look like not a dog that you want to greet anymore. And why did the dog end up with that expectation? Because our idea of what socialization is sometimes a little skewed, and a breed-specific approach to socialization, especially for golden retrievers, is so important. It's not just about meeting every dog, every person, every blinking kitten. You also teach them what to do when they can't interact, and that doesn't come naturally. So that's probably one of the most transformative things I think we can teach, and we put that in day one. It's so early doors.
Yeah. So with so obviously so in the academy, how many people have you got in your academy at the moment?
I can't give you an exact number off the top of my head, but I would say it's probably somewhere around 600.
Well done. So this is 600 people. They're not just based in the UK. This is worldwide. This is global.
Yeah.
These are all people who have golden retrievers who want to work ethically with them. But in your academy, it's not just training that you offer. You have a whole library of stuff on your online academy. So tell us a little bit more about what is in that academy.
What isn't? all of the things that dog training neglects to mention about your dog's behavior. All of the things that affect your dog's behavior that dog training can't zoom out to see. Because dog trainers are specialists, as I'm not omnipotent, like me too, which is why we welcome in different specialists with different specialisms to give us a well-rounded view of all of the things that influence your dog and their behavior. So there are so many more facets to behavior than just what we see with the naked eye. I'm preaching to the choir here, this. Like the 4 pillars of pain, one of them is behavior. Behavior change in a dog. If we see a marked behavioral change, then we need to investigate that dog. What's going on internally? If we got some discomfort, have we got a change? Is there pain? It's not always a simple fact of, a behavior change because of circumstances in the environment. It can be the dog's internal state as well.
Absolutely.
A big focus on what we do in there is looking beyond the simple initial presentation of the behavior struggle and asking, what else is going on for your dog? Like I cut my teeth in the industry working, as you know, in the veterinary industry. So it gave me a very different view, I think. When it came to working with behavior, it was very natural for me to investigate pain first. It's become a much bigger thing now, and I'm delighted. But it is actually, I would say, it's only really with the Mills paper that things started to seriously change in the dog training industry when it relates to pain and discomfort in our dogs. And, dog trainers are not vets, but I think we do have an ethical obligation to educate ourselves, at least on a base level, of what kind of presentations we might see if pain is a question mark in a dog.
Absolutely. And I think that's where we kind of I think the first time we met, we spoke for like 4 hours solid. And every time we go for lunch, they're like trying to kick us out because we're there for so long. Because like you said, behavior is it's not 2D. It's so complex. So I'm sure Lindsay won't mind. I'm thinking of Bo right now. So Bo is a dog that is part of Kate's Academy, and I think I did a lecture. It was either, it must have been one of my pain lectures that I did, and then Bo ended up coming to clinic. She'd been struggling with the golden anchor. So for people who don't know what the golden anchor is, Kate, how would you describe that golden anchor?
Oh, everyone with a golden retriever knows what a golden anchor is. So when they park their bum and they will not move. So you then have 35 kilos of potentially upside down, sometimes just lying down. But it's a hard no. I ain't budging.
Yeah, so this is something that, along with a couple other things that Bo was struggling with, I think before she came to see me, she went and had some x-rays which confirmed a couple of orthopedic issues, so she started working with myself, and I think she comes to see me once every 3 weeks at the moment. We then have she goes to hydrotherapy as well. And we noticed that when we started to unravel the pain side of things, that this golden anchor behavior definitely reduced. And if it creeps back, we know, oh, okay, we need to go back to the drawing board, because pain isn't stationary. So even though, you know, we started all the therapies and she was doing all the ethical training, she was doing everything, the weather changes.
Yeah.
Then that's going to change. That's going to change the game up again. So it's constantly going back to the drawing board. And Lindsay won my Rehabber of the Year award. I think it was 2023, because my God, her dedication to that dog was just something to behold. Because again, when I'm working with pain, I have to have someone else to refer to, like yourself, because I don't know how to deal with the behavior side of things. So I always say to people, like, when I talk about pain behavior, I can identify behaviors and I can explain potentially why that's linked to pain. So for example, resource guarding. So Bo's not a resource guarder, but just as an example of a behavior, I can identify resource guarding. I can explain how that can be linked to pain, but with regards as a plan on how to work on the resource guarding, that is absolutely not my remit. That is your remit as a trainer and a behaviourist. Is that your title, trained behaviourist?
Yeah, I prefer chief geek personally, but yeah.
there's so many like different labels, especially in like the dog training industry. I know that so some people, yeah, it does get confusing, doesn't it? It does get confusing. And another dog that again we both work with, Malu, the golden retriever. So she's another member of your academy, and she, oh my God, she's doing great. I forgot to tell you that. I mean, the girls are both doing great, but Malu's doing absolutely fabulous. And that again is a combination of working with different professionals and building that team of people around your dog. And I know that another thing that you like to discuss in the group is species appropriate nutrition. So as someone who is an ex-veterinary nurse, how is it that you managed to find raw? Because I know that there's a lot of misconceptions about raw feeding, especially in the veterinary industry. So as an ex-vet nurse, how did you come to my side at field?
I've always fed raw. So
have you?
Yeah, I have. And but then you know me, I'm always on the other side. I'm always questioning things. So from when I had my first dogs that I brought home from rescue when I was 16 years old, and they were my dogs, like very much my dogs. They were fed raw from day dot. And if I'm really honest, if you asked me now, how did you come to thinking about that? I wouldn't actually be able to answer you because it was so long ago. But what I do remember is just the simple logic of thinking, how can this that is in a bag on the shelf that's been there for the past 18 months be more appropriate for my dog than this fresh alternative? And for me, it was kind of like the equivalent of looking at it like Slimming World shakes. Yeah, that's got everything technically that our body needs, but how bioavailable is that? And what's the cost for that level of convenience? What's the cost to my body? How much can I actually utilize of that? And I think my brain just kind of didn't make sense in my head as to why that would be better for my dogs than something that I could identify as food.
Yeah.
Because I can't identify that as food, but I can see that that is. So I don't think it was based on any understanding of the science at the time. I was too young for that. I think it was based on pure intuition and looking at with logic and questioning what I was told. I'm always questioning what I'm told. I'm the worst patient. You do not want me. I once presented my dentist with a print off. This is a true story. I presented my dentist with a print off of 5 studies to prove why he shouldn't remove my amalgam filling while I was pregnant, which is what he was suggesting to do. And he kind of looked at me and looked at them, and he didn't read them, and he was like, fine.
Of course you presented papers to the dentist. I love that for you. Of course that's something that you do.
You know me. Like,
Absolutely. And I think as well, it's having that empowerment to question.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm constantly speaking to the people that bring their dogs to me, like, question. You don't have to be rude about it.
Yeah.
You just have to present a different way of thinking. And I think when it comes to food, it's like a big subject. And I think with pain as well, frustratingly so, that's like, I'm having to say to pet parents, you can advocate. You'll have to say, I don't agree with you. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be rude at all.
Ask for clarification. Say, okay, I'm not sure that I understand your reasoning for this yet. Can you help me better understand?
Yeah.
And then if you ask for clarification, you can ask for what backs up that clarification as well. What is the actual risk factors that I need to consider, and what is the percentage chance of that risk factor occurring for me or my dog?
Yeah.
And those are really important questions, because then we can't blow up or dramatize the figures if we look at them in a very pragmatic, factual way.
Take the emotion out of it.
Yeah. And later on it became more apparent that my gut, I'm happy to be wrong as well. I would have happily would have corrected if it was what's in the best interest of my dog. I happily would have corrected my behavior. But I felt more validated. The older I got, the more attuned I became, the more research I actually did myself, the more certain I became. And I've never, ever changed. I've always been a raw feeder. I'm not an evangelical raw feeder. I support everyone else's right to make their own choices, and I don't throw my opinions down anyone's throats. But if you ask me, I'll happily explain my reasons for it. Yeah,
I think definitely when I first started raw feeding, it was very much raw or nothing. And if you don't feed raw, well, you're going to suffer the consequences. And now, oh my God, I am so laid back. I'm like, listen, if you want to feed a kibble, that's fine. Could we add some fresh in? Yes, we can. I mean, I went to see my family in Spain, and my aunt has, oh my God, like 6 cats. And they were fed supermarket kibble. And I was looking at these cats, and they were in good condition. I looked at their teeth, and they had good teeth. And I was like, how old are these cats? She's like 7. I said, God, I was like, they look absolutely fantastic. And I was like, can you just tell me a little bit more about, like what you feed them? And she says, well, they get the biscuits. And she said, and they get leftovers. And she was like, once a week, I cook off some liver, and they all have like cooked liver, and they have this and they have that. And they have like a really varied diet.
She's pimping the bowl.
She is pimping that bowl up. And I always say, I always love to bring up a study from Dogs Risk in Helsinki with Anna Bjorn Heimann. And she found in her study that if we change 20% of what that food bowl looks like, we can start to see those positive changes in the this was with dogs, in the dogs. So with my auntie's cats, she also did not vaccinate. They had their kitten vaccinations, but they didn't have annual vaccinations, nor were they flead or wormed as well. So I'm going to drop that little bombshell. I mean, for me, it's not a bombshell, but I remember when I first started raw feeding, I could not get my head around the fact that people don't vaccinate and people don't use flea and worm treatment on the dogs. And I think you know, things like neutering as well. That's a very hot topic in your group. It is a very hot topic.
It's a very breed specific question, actually, because what
Yes.
we found is specifically in female golden retrievers, they are one of the only breeds that it is recommended that we don't spay them at all. So it's interesting. People question breed specific approaches, but your dogs are not the same. You know, their genetics are not the same. They're created for a specific niche. They are created for a job. We shaped our breeds for a goal. We wanted them to complete certain jobs, even if it was just companionship. But a dog that's bred for companionship is going to present very differently to a dog that is bred for guarding. So why then are we applying the same approaches across the board when it comes to all of the things, you know, training, when it comes to health and considerations of, you know, should we neuter? At what age should we neuter? Is it different for genders? Is it different for breeds? Yes, it is. So having a specialist, someone who is an absolute nerd on that one topic, it just gives you more of a depth of understanding about your unique dog and your dog's genetics and why that matters.
Can you remember the name of, is it the Golden Retriever Lifetime Study?
Yes.
What year did it? Yeah, what year did that come out? It was I want to say fairly recent, but I class the paper in the last 10 years as fairly recent.
Someone asked me, when did we go to X place on holiday recently? And I said, oh, it was about 2 years ago. No, it was 15. So
it was that study was fairly recent, and this is so when so whether I'm doing like a guest lecture in Kate's Academy, or you know, I've got a golden retriever. I mean, the golden retrievers that come to see me are part of Kate's Academy. I haven't had any rogue ones come in yet, but when I'm asked questions about opinions on neutering, my biggest thing is that everyone gets to make an informed choice about the way that they care for their dog. I will give you a buffet of options and you get to pick what is right for your dog. So I think it was in the Golden Retriever Lifetime Study that was conducted in the States. It had a huge research group from what I remember. And it showed that if you neuter a Golden Retriever bitch, they are almost guaranteed. Was it MCT or was it the cruise ship ruptures?
I can't remember.
I can't remember. I think it was MCT. So MCT is your mast cell tumours. So golden retrievers are unfortunately incredibly prone to cancer. So it was in that study they found that the bitches that had been neutered were pretty much guaranteed MCT. I'm almost certain it's MCT. I think it was
hemangiosarcoma is a huge problem. For golden retrievers, especially neutered golden retrievers. And the problem with this, now here's my thoughts on this, right? Because I get asked this a lot and people are like, yeah, but, and I'm like, I hear you, pyometra, real risk. I hear you, mammary tumors, you know, mammary neoplasia, real risk. However, what is the mortality risk of these issues relative to the morbidity? So how often are they going to occur? Potentially quite frequently. What's the actual risk to life compared to something like a hemangiosarcoma? And if we neuter that dog and we remove those essential hormones, we start tinkering with a luteinizing hormone, which is the big catalyst. It's the big problem. We start tinkering with that. We increase the morbidity of things like hemangiosarcoma. What's the mortality rate of that? Well, if your dog is diagnosed with hemangiosarcoma, it's a when, not an if. Like, how long have you got? If your dog is diagnosed with pyometra, the relative risk compared for mortality, like, is it going to kill him? Basically, significantly smaller. That's not to say dogs don't die of pyometra. Absolutely not. Do not get me twisted here.
Yeah, no, pyometra is incredibly nasty. But what I say to people is, if you're choosing to keep your bitch entire, make yourself aware of what pyometry looks like, how it can present. But most people who are asking the questions of, oh, should I, shouldn't I, they're watching their dog like a hawk. They have hands on their dog every single day. So any lumpy bumpy that comes up, you know, it's looked at as checked.
it's the same with, mammary neoplasia. If your dog starts to get a growth on a mammary gland, yeah, you've got your hands on them, you can feel that. And you take them in, it's treatable. What is the actual risk to your dog's life of that? Of course there is one, but we've got a balance of risk is important.
Yes.
When we increase the risk of things that will kill your dog in favor of lowering the risk of things that they stand a very good chance of recovering from. This is why, and I'm not trying to sway anyone. This is just my unfiltered thoughts that are coming out at the moment. And I like to inform people with the full facts of what we understand based on the science that we have available to us at the time, and then empower people to make their own decisions.
Yes.
But full disclosure, I have a golden retriever bitch, and she is entire and will remain so.
There we go. So my girls, well, I haven't got golden retrievers, but my dogs are all neutered. If I could go back, they would be entire. But we do the best we can with the information that we have
at the time, and we didn't always know.
And we didn't always know, absolutely. So I think, again, that empowering pet parents to make informed decisions. I always say, listen, take my opinion, take your vet's opinion, take them all and work out what looks best for you and your dog. Because everything I say is not gospel. I'm not always right, but I'm going to give you an opinion because that's just how I'm bred. I can't help it. I'm just
you too present your dentist with 5 papers.
Recently, I sent a list of research papers off to a vet because I was convinced, well, I am still convinced that one of the dogs that comes to see me is suffering from phantom limb pain. So I was like, how do I get my point across? Because I know if I get on the phone, I'm just going to sound like an absolute idiot. So I just sent a load of research papers across, and then when the pet parent went in next, they were like, oh yeah, interesting. So I was like, they didn't dismiss it though, so I've got my toe in the door, and I'll just keep pushing my way in. I'll keep pushing my way in, because it can go either way, can't it? They can either be like, God, she's arrogant,
yes, it really
papers, and it's, do you know what, it's not about that, it's about just thinking, oh, is there something else we can add to this conversation? So
speaking to it is a big part of both of our jobs.
Yes.
It's something that I do every single client that sees me. We do a vet first, then me, because I can't treat pain, and I think it's just the most ethical way to to work on veterinary referrals. The only ethical way to do that, especially when it comes to behavior work. To date, bear in mind that's not the case for the Academy, because the Academy is a training membership group. So these are the people that come to me and work with me one-to-one, which I don't do that much of anymore, to be fair.
Yeah.
I tend to save it for Academy members who need that bit more. But the people in the Academy have been exposed to the content that we've put out there, educating them about, other reasons why your dog's behavior might suck, basically. And to date, I don't want to misquote myself. I'm not going to give you an exact number because I don't have one off the top of my head, but we are over 20 dogs now that have received, and in fact, we might even be over 30 now, that have received a diagnosis after educating themselves in the Academy about what pain happened. And that's, partly in a big way, partly thanks to you as well, and your but it is because, we work together to get this information out there. And it's so important that these dogs are not dismissed as stubborn, and they're not dismissed as ignorant or even worse, stupid. I've heard, stupid, stubborn dogs. No, these dogs are communicating with us. And educating their guardians, educating as many people as possible to spot what those signs could be. That's not to say every dog with a behavior problem is in pain, but for the ones that are, we need to question if all of them are.
Yes, absolutely. That's I always feel like I get so emotional if I find out that someone's listened to a lecture or read something I've written, or something's just resonated with them that has then sent them on a journey to get that diagnosis, because the diagnosis is the start of a new journey of management and how we manage that dog. And I just think, it's all for something. The long hours are for something, because that's then going to change how that dog's life looks.
We've just had one literally last week. So I had a hot seat. I won't name the member because I haven't discussed, and I won't discuss the case either because we haven't asked permission to do that. But last week we had a hot seat with a member, and the dog has now been diagnosed. And they were so grateful for everything that they'd learned from, you know, your content in the academy, from us, and my constant drum banging.
Yeah.
You know, I do feel like a broken record sometimes, but I think it's important that we keep banging that drum.
Yes.
Because these dogs are being fobbed off elsewhere. They're being labelled as, you know, stubborn, ignorant,
Difficult
dogs, problem children,
Yeah.
and they are not. They are sore. So if we can get that message out there to as many people as possible, I'm happy to be a broken record and just keep banging the drum.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it'd be easy if I like tattooed like your dog is in pain ? On my
If they're
forehead.
limping, it hurts. It hurts if they're limping.
They're not being dramatic.
They're not putting it on.
They're not putting it on. Not doing a show for you. Oh yeah. No, the things that we see. But I'm so pleased for that pet parent and for that dog that the community that you've built has fostered this environment to help pet parents educate themselves, and also, you know, that it's a lovely little community where they all kind of talk to each other. It's so cute. It's delicious.
You know, I'm proud of a lot of things in life. Like I'm proud of my children. I'm proud of, you know, the relationship that I've built with my husband. I'm proud of my dogs, but I am so proud of that group because every single person in there is unbelievable, and that to have a group of this size with people from all different cultures, from all different places in the world, and every single member is beautiful to each other, and we have no rules other than one guideline: treat everyone else and yourself as a golden retriever would. And that's it. And honestly, it's the most incredible, supportive environment. And I can't believe that we've managed it. Like,
and it occurs on the internet. Because the internet is just awful. On the internet, there's this lovely little corner where everyone's just nice to each other and everyone just loves the golden retriever.
Just nice. I mean, it doesn't happen. Breed groups are a tough place to go.
Yes.
Let me tell you, they are tough. And sometimes there are people in there and they have, you know, other motivations, and it gets complicated and it gets messy. And if you go there as a vulnerable guardian struggling with a behavior problem, maybe it's your first dog, maybe you've not had a dog as an adult on your own before, and you don't understand that, you know, what to do, and you're tired, you're overwhelmed, and you go to a breed group and they savage you. Like, what a way to alienate people. And I hope that, you know, we've got a few groups, we've got a few free groups, we've got the community group for academy members. My hope is to give people somewhere to go when they don't know what to do and they're desperate.
Yeah. And as well, like the responses that are in your academy group, that's, you know, it's linking them back to the resources that are there. You're there. You've got Helen, who also brings her dog to me in that group, but also other members helping out other members. So your veterans, your OG members, they're there to help the newbies as well. It's just a lovely community that you've fostered. Listen, Kate, we can literally just go for the next 3 hours. It has been proven on several occasions. So I'm going to stop us there. But firstly, I'd like to say thank you for coming and waffling with me today. If people want to find you on socials or your website, where can they find you?
So you can look us up. The website is academy.goodasgolden.co.uk. Academy is only open a few times a year for new people to join, because we do keep those doors closed, because it's a very special community. It wouldn't be that way if we were open to all and sundry. So if you're interested, you need to join the wait list. So you can do that at academy.goodasgolden.co.uk. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Good as Golden Dog Training or the Golden Academy.
And throughout the year, you run like free training events, which is that the people who join those training events. You do like the live stuff as well. You do all
Yeah.
sorts. She's a busy gal.
I'm a busy gal.
She's a busy gal.
So next week, actually, we are starting. Let me get the date right, because that'd be terrible, wouldn't it? On the 27th of January, we are kicking off a full free week of breed-specific training support. This is the Just Calm Down training challenge. So if you've got an absolutely Looney Tune golden retriever and you would really quite like to learn how to get them to just calm down, then this one is for you. It's a full week of breed-specific training live with me, streamed worldwide, all over the world. Thousands of people join us for the challenges, and then we have an evening Q&A session every evening as well, so you can ask me questions, whatever you want, preferably about golden retrievers, because I don't know about anything else. Yeah, so everyone is welcome to join. You can find out more about that by going onto our website, and you can also search for the Just Calm Down training challenge. So make sure I've got the
And you've got heaps of resources on your website as well, haven't you? Like ebooks and bits and pieces on that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some Kids Around Dogs ebooks. We've got
Nice.
some ebooks about why we don't use punishment in teaching dogs.
Yes.
So if you, because I think sometimes it becomes something that we just repeat and we don't explain. So if you really want to know a little bit more about why I specifically don't choose to utilize any pain, force, fear, or coercion in training, you're very welcome. Go and download the ebook.
And it's a very level-headed ebook as well. I do like that ebook. 10 out of 10.
Oh, thank you. I'm flattered.
Well, thanks so much, Kate. Of course, you're going to have to come back. We'll have to match up the diaries, which I know is always hellish for us.
There you have it. That's my podcast with the wonderful Kate from Good as Golden Dog Training. I hope you found it insightful, because I certainly did. I have to admit that before I started working with golden retrievers, I did used to think they were kind of the nice, placid family dog. And actually, it's through meeting Kate and seeing the work that she does in the Golden Academy do I realise that actually Goldies aren't pre-programmed to be that perfect dog. Some of them have to have a lot of work go into them to make them that lovely family addition. If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like, share, comment and hit that subscribe button. Lots of love to you and your dogs. Take care for now. Bye.